So welcome everyone to the Wednesday morning series of alternate hosts on the particular series. But normally Troy is on the fourth week, but March happens to have 5 weeks and he was unavailable. So he's here today, yay. So Troy does, you can see in the background, his book is in Finding Peace is in the background. And so the attachment wounds are really in his wheelhouse. He also has been doing the online work group on seekingintegrity.com, which is a 6-week course, talking about, not just talking about, working through these particular issues. We've got a new group starting in April. So I would invite you to go to the work groups on seekingintegrity.com and check that out. We keep him very busy. He also has the Friday morning drop-in group on sexandrelationshiphealing.com for men. And he has alternating Thursdays, a group for betrayed partners on attachment wounds. So again, we keep him very busy, and that's still only part of what he does for us. So, but I'm going to leave it there. This is your opportunity. He does a great job of answering questions. So in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, I would invite you to type in questions. We can always find things to talk about, but so much more fun when you're asking questions about relationships, attachment wounds, sex addiction, betrayal, whatever form it takes. So please type those into the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, we do keep you busy. And then on top of that, he was moving his office and, oh wait, and he has a life too, and a business and whatever, so.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
We just finished the healing attachment wounds class. It was wonderful. We had 20 guys in there and it was amazing. So hopefully you get some good feedback.
Well, tell a little bit more about those, because I mean, yes, it's amazing, but tell me what, tell me your takeaways on that.
So basically what we've done is we've broken the Finding Peace workbook into smaller pieces, given some specific assignments for the class, and then each week the students get about 2 to 3, depending on what's going on, 2 to 3 assignments that they work on both in the class and outside of class. Because it is an attachment-based work group, I make them follow up with another student during the week and review their homework. And that's been really cool to hear the feedback from them about what that was like, and have them feel like they're not alone, and to find some similarities between the 2 of them or 3 of them, or how many people they reached out to. And we're just working through the material that I've created to help people find more peace and joy and connection, and because it is helping them also understand a little bit more about like what's underneath their addictive behaviors. Why are they acting out the way they're acting out? Why do they get angry as much as they get angry? Why do they get so defensive? So it helps them develop some understanding and hopefully some self-compassion, so that they can be kinder to themselves. And if they can be kinder to themselves, then hopefully they'll be kinder to the people that they live with and that they love and care about. So that's the goal.
I do find having so to your point, we have work groups for sex addiction 101 level 1, porn addiction 101 level 1. So for people that are just beginning this journey, those are great places to start. But the attachment wounds, the inner child work, that's the stuff that's underlying, and having the language to be able to identify what this is, so that it isn't just reacting or shutting down. That's also a reaction, is shutting down, but having the ability to do something different. I think that's part of what those exercises are, is like having self-compassion, but also some tools to go, oh, instead of doing this, I can choose to do that, and have a different outcome, rather than be in the spin of conflict and, withdrawal and all of those things that are not helpful on a personal level or for a relationship.
That's what we're hoping. So if you have questions, the reducing shame group. So we did have a little bit of a discussion of the last time on the Thursday, every other Thursday. It's for betrayed partners. And we, Tammy and I did clarify when we very first started that group, it was for all genders, whatever way you identify your gender, because there's not a whole lot of space for individuals who are in the LGBTQ community to get some support. And so we did open it up for that, but it is specifically for betrayed partners. So if you are someone who's struggling with the addiction side of things, we have several other drop-in groups for you, but that is for betrayed partners. And that means that there may be somebody of the opposite gender or non-binary that is in that group. So,
but at the end of the day, they're betrayed and by someone that they love and care about, and it's that's problematic. And again, looking at where we intersect and how we can have compassion for each other and support each other, can be meaningful too. So
and yes, it is. I think it is on the first and third Thursday of the month. So and so you are more than welcome to join. We're responding to somebody who's asking a question in the chat. The easiest way for us to manage the questions is if you can put them in the Q&A. It makes it easier for Tammy to keep track of what's
to be
going
sort
on.
of organized.
Right. I have both windows up over there, but it is easier for us to manage. And we do have our first question. And
we do. So which is, my husband seems to have made a miraculous recovery over 2 months. I am scared but hopeful. I have a slight avoidance attachment cycle, which I'm going to ask you to explain more about, Troy, and have freak out moments after letting myself feel vulnerable and hopeful for a future together. Are there tips for balancing reattachment and safety? Am I rushing intimacy? I have fear after sex.
So an avoidant attachment style basically is someone who is putting some walls up between themselves and the other person in order to keep themselves safe. So they do that because getting too close feels unsafe. It feels a little dangerous for them. So they pull away, or they kind of keep people at arm's length in order to keep them safe. So in this case, sounds like there's a betrayal wound that's going on. There's betrayal trauma. And so it would make sense that there's a little bit of a wall going up. It sounds like it's a slight avoidant attachment style, which is nice because that makes it a little easier if the couple can work through that. But it also makes sense that there is some reluctance to jump right in. You said it's a miraculous recovery over 2 months. I have seen people change and be able to stop acting out behavior and stop doing things overnight, and that's beautiful. It's more than just the acting out, though. There's a whole lot that goes along with it. Oftentimes when the person stops their numbing behavior, then all their emotions come up, and they've been numbing those for so long that they don't know what to do with the emotions now that are coming up. So sometimes it can be a little rocky. But to answer your question about, are you rushing intimacy if you have fear after sex? Well, it's normal that you would have some fear after sex. I don't know if you're rushing it. It's okay, though, to put on the brakes and take your time and use your words to be able to explain what you need in order to feel safe. So it's really okay to be able to say, hey, I'm really proud of you. I can see that you're doing a lot of work, and this is what I need in order to be able to feel safer in this intimate relationship right now. And can you help me get that met? The other part of balancing the reattachment is being able to check it in. So part of it is checking in with your partner and hope and clarifying whether there is honesty going on, whether the person is following through on what they say they're doing when they say they're going to do it, and they're building back that trust. So that's helpful. Being able to trust yourself, because you have an inner sense, a sixth sense that sometimes gets shut down because of gaslighting and other things that the um the addict person can do. And so oftentimes the partner doesn't trust that sense anymore. And then when they find out that all that stuff was going on, they're pissed, they're really angry, understandably. And so learning how to trust that, and then reaching out and getting some support from other women, and just checking things in so that you're not feeling like, am I crazy? Like, is this normal? And we have a lot of groups for betrayed partners that provide space exactly for that, where you can check it in and get some validation that what you're experiencing is absolutely normal and okay.
And I think when you said hit the brakes, I was like, yep, this feels like slow things down. One of the previous, one of the previous webinar hosts, he said, made a comment, if it's a good idea today, it'll be a good idea tomorrow. And 2 months is extremely early in the process. You've probably heard on other webinars and things too, that the acting out is a symptom, and the underlying issues. We're talking about underlying issues, the attachment wounds and things like that. So these are years and decades old issues. And I mean, miraculous comes to mind when you say 2 months. I mean, like, to be completely different in 2 months would be, I'd be feeling some undercurrents. Like, it is very difficult for addicts. They get they can have more struggles, early on in recovery, because their coping mechanisms, the go-to, have been taken away. So, and it's often where someone finds another way of acting out, food, gaming, shopping, something else that's, hitting the dopamine as well. So I would just invite you to understand that, it's a process. And I see things popping up on the chat. Oh, these glasses look, I got my eyes done. I will take a brief pause, because Eddie Caparucci, I've had cataract surgery. I can see amazingly, but the close-up work, I need glasses. So you'll see different pairs. Thank you for commenting, but I can see. I'm grateful. But so to me, it's going back to this. So, like, if an addict is a 12 to 24 month period of time to get a solid foundation, and a partner is behind, 2 months is really quick. So take a deep breath. It's a journey. It's not a destination. You got this. You got support. Keep coming back. So grateful you asked the question. So here's the next one. Is there a level of recovery or a step in the 12 steps that my SA husband will reach when he accepts my trauma without taking me down the get over it? What more do you want from me? I'm doing enough. Oh, type of attitude. At whichever these recovery 12 step stages is it advised that I, the betrayed partner, re-engage romantically, sexually? That's a great question.
It is. So I'm gonna answer the second part. I don't know if there is, like, once your husband gets to this stage, then you can re-engage romantically and sexually. I don't think that there's anything that black and white. Honestly, that is your call. It's your body, so you get to decide when you're going to re-engage romantically and sexually with your partner or not. To answer the other part, though, there are several steps that, if your husband is really doing the work, may help him develop some empathy. So the fourth step, where they do a strong and
searching and fearless moral inventory of themselves. Yeah.
That's right. Searching a moral inventory of their behaviors and how those behaviors have impacted other people. And then confessing those, which is step 5, and then going on to step 8, 9, and 10, which is figuring out how we can make amends, and then what can we do to give back to other people. So there are several steps along the way, I've watched people run through the steps really fast and say, I did them. I did all the steps. And I'm like, okay, well, do them again then.
Do them again. Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so, but so yes, there are steps along the way. What you're really saying is that he does not have a whole lot of capacity for empathy right now. And to be honest, when an addict has been dealing with their addict behavior for so long, one of the key components of that is shame. They feel horrible about themselves. They feel like they are a piece of dirt and that they're never going to get any better. And the more shame they have, the less ability they have to have empathy for your wounds. So what happens is that when he's saying things like, well, just get over it, what he's really saying is, I want to get over it. And I don't like that you continue to have this pain. And I don't like that I've done that to hurt you. And I can't handle myself and how much I feel like I'm a horrible husband because I've done that. So you stop talking about it. That's not empathy. So there's a lot more work that the partner has to do on his end to develop like, wow, and I have done things that have caused you harm. And for that, I am tremendously sorry. And here's what I'm wanting to do to make amends for that. And I can see your pain and I can hold space for that. And you take the time that you need to heal from that. And what can I do to make it a little bit better? What can I do to hold space for you a little bit more? And a person has to be able to have developed some shame resilience to be able to do that. And that is a lot of hard work. So it is not your fault that this is happening. There are several ways that he can develop that, and the step work is a beautiful way of doing that. There's other ways of dealing with that as well. All of the things that he can use to learn how to do shame resilience and stop beating himself up so he can hold space for you would be highly recommended.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to answer the last part first. Dr. Rob just said it on the Monday night webinar again. Engage romantically, sexually when you feel safe. Why would you want to have sex with somebody who you don't trust, who you don't feel safe with? So I think having the conversation, not in, when things are bad or when you're overwhelmed with your trauma, but just say, I visualize, I want us to have this, I want to work towards that. The story I tell myself when you push back on me is that you don't value our relationship. You don't want to meet me in our relationship. I wonder what's happening for you, being curious. I wonder what's happening for you. I wonder if it's shame. There's so many different ways without escalating it that doesn't get us anywhere, but being able to hold your boundary of, I need, for my safety, for me to be in this relationship, and be willing to be vulnerable, then, this is what I'm looking for from you. I realize you're not there yet, but I'm holding the space and hoping that we can move towards that. Is that what you want to do? But the get over it never works. I threw in the chat the Out of the Doghouse work group. That's the kind of stuff that gets talked about in the Out of the Doghouse work groups. Again, we mentioned early on Troy's. Any of them are a 6-week. We have a betrayed partner group starting on April 6th, but any of them are a 6-week work group, an hour and a half. Troy is talking about making his an hour and 45 minutes. More will be revealed. But these are live facilitated, and so that there's the education, but there's also the connection and processing and homework, etc. So I really invite you to do that. I also put the couples healing from betrayal work group that will be scheduled. I think that will start May 4th. So watch for that. But both of those would be opportunities for you to, these are just resources. Everybody, This is not a sales pitch. I'm offering you resources so that you have more information and more support, as you're going through this process, because nobody gets in a relationship and goes, yeah, in year X, I'm planning on having to deal with sex addiction and betrayal trauma in my relationship. Nobody got the manual for this. So I love that you're here. Please know that these resources are just to be supportive and, helpful in whatever ways we can. So. Okay, next, I am a partner. I have learned a lot from this journey, of course. I have this deep insecurity that there is something wrong or off with me because I got into a relationship with an addict. I'm not attracted to abusive traits, nor my dad is a sex addict. Why is it about me that got me here? In a relationship with an addict. I'm sorry if this question is dumb. It's not dumb. I am so scared that there is something very wrong with me and I can't see it. That's not a dumb question. Thank you for asking it. Thank you for being vulnerable. So,
First of all, I know who you are, and I just really want you to know that there is nothing wrong with you. You are enough, just the way that you are. We are wounded in our lives. That's the work that I do around attachment is most of the time when I'm talking to people, these wounds that we've experienced, they've happened when we were kids. And I'm glad your dad was not a sex addict, but most of us did not grow up in perfect lives. And even if we had amazing parents, things happen. Maybe not with our parents, but maybe with peers at school, or Uncle Fester who took us behind the barn and showed us his light bulb or something. Like, things happen to us that cause us wounds and they hurt. And oftentimes we're not even aware that those wounds exist. And then out of all the people on the planet, and I think it is a fascinating thing that out of all the people on the planet, and there's 8 billion of us, we find someone that there's just something about that person that we are attracted to and we love. And yet there's something about that person that is also the exact person who's going to bump up against those wounds in just the strangest ways. And part of it is, I think we're hoping that the outcome will be different this time. We're hoping that this time, this person won't hurt me like I've been hurt in the past. And even if it wasn't exactly the same, and you take kind of the behavior out of it, but you look at the wounds themselves, then maybe my rejection wound won't be bumped exactly the same way, or maybe my abandonment wound won't be bumped the same way, or maybe my betrayal wound won't be bumped the same way. And yet they do. And it's like, what the heck? Like, so immediately our brain wants to figure out, well, why is this happening? And we immediately come up with, well, it must be me. There must be something wrong with me. And if I can just fix it, if I can just fix this thing, then it won't happen anymore. And that's where the judge shows up and says, well, here, yeah, let me give you a list of all the freaking things that are wrong with you. And then if you could just fix those, then you won't be rejected anymore. You won't be betrayed. You won't be abandoned. You won't be hurt anymore. And that's honestly not reality. And so part of the shift is to be able to say, I am wounded, but I am enough. And what can I do to take care of the wounds that I have? Just like if you had an actual physical wound, what can you do? What kind of dressings do you need to use to take care of that wound? What kind of ointments do you need to put on it? Do you need to put some things to protect that wound so it has time to heal? Do you have to put a wound vac on there so it can suck out all the gross stuff? Like, what do you need to do for the wound care so that the wound can heal? And at the same time, what can you do to remind yourself that you are enough, that you are worthy of love and belonging, and that you are worthy of being treated with dignity and respect, and that you are worthy of being told the truth, and that you're worthy of not being lied to. And the more that you're able to embrace those truths, the more that you grow. And I don't know why the universe does that, but I think some of that is it gives us an opportunity to work through that and learn who we are and say, hey, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm having boundaries around that now. I'm enough, and you do what you're going to do, but I'm enough. And here's how I'm going to manage my life now. And maybe that's why, I don't know. When I get to the other side, I can ask my higher power what in the heck that's all about. But for you, you're enough, and there's nothing wrong with you. And I want you to hold on to that for dear life, and just know that you got some wounds though, and there's people on this planet who want to help you take care of them and want to help you know that you're enough and that you are beautiful and you're worthy of love and all of that.
That was meaningful, truly. The only things that I want to tag on are, I look at this as you were able to see good things in an addict. Why is that something wrong with you? I mean, that in Dr. Rob's book, Codependence, says you love somebody who's got some brokenness, but you're able to see the good. I mean, the betrayed partners that reach out to me, I commend them because they see the good. They want good things for someone. I find why, Dr. Rob and I were just talking about this again, why to be a useless question, because even we know lots of addicts who know why they're an addict. Like, they've got a lot of the whys, they're still acting out. It's how. I like Troy's what can I do, how can so how can I move forward, what can I do to know that I'm enough. Those are more useful and forward thinking, rather than getting stuck in a shame spiral of why did I do this, what was wrong with me that made me pick somebody like this. I mean, I bet there's a lot of amazing qualities about the person you love. So there's amazing qualities about you so how can you move forward in a different and meaningful way, and not let fear and that insecurity rob you of happiness and joy as you move forward. So glad you're here. The next question is, I learned of betrayal last July and discovered history of SA followed by months of lies and staggered disclosure of past events that I had to unearth through detective work. He is trying to make things right, but I'm constantly triggered by his lack of affection and intimacy, feeling too much like in-house separation. He is fearful avoidant, and due to trauma, I'm extremely reactive to not feeling desired and resentful that he seems withholding instead of trying to make it up to me by being really loving, affectionate, and intimate. Also, which of the groups help men with the distancing issues? Oh, okay. So, well, let's talk about that. I'll throw the more work groups on at the end. So
Kind of like what I said earlier, like honestly, I don't know you or your spouse. What I'm reading into that is that your spouse is full of shame. And that is why the spouse is fearful and avoidant and is pulling away. You had to do a lot of the legwork to find out what was going on. And so I'm not sure that a full disclosure still has happened in the way that we recommend. So I'm not sure you know all of the things yet. And because of that, there's still a ton of shame. And so the partner is still, and like I said, this is just what I'm suspecting. I could be completely wrong, but so there's still stuff that's hanging out there that he's afraid that you're going to find out, and that he's afraid that if you find out, you're going to hate him and you're going to think he's despicable and horrible. And so he does his best to hide that and pull away. And then you're left feeling alone and wanting support and wanting to be loved on and wanting to feel like you're beautiful and all those things. And because of the shame that he's dealing with, he doesn't have the capacity to do that. So there are lots of things, which Tammy will talk about some of the support groups that we have for that. He he and you both, I would recommend finding a therapist, a qualified therapist in your area that can help walk through some of this, who can help you do a proper full disclosure that's done through the way that the CSATs model. It works really, really well for that. So that I've watched nearly every full disclosure that I've seen, except for the ones where the guy lies, has been life-changing in the relationship and has been a turning point in the relationship and has helped repair things to the point where they are able to make repairs. When they lie and they're not completely honest, even in the full disclosure, then that doesn't work out that well. But I would recommend that be part of the work, because this journey is going to take a lot of support. The two of you are not going to be able to do it on your own, especially him. The shame piece, he cannot break through that on his own. And no matter how much you love him and care about him, he's not going to believe you, because he carries so much shame about how he's hurt you. And so he's able to work through that and develop some shame resilience, and then can own up to his behavior in a way that restores trust.
So I'm going to start with the work groups, but I'm going to actually kind of tag back, because you indicate trying to make things right, and I know these are little snippets. So, but what is he doing? Is he seeing a qualified professional? Is he attending 12-step, working with a sponsor, working the steps, coming to our drop-in groups? If he's trying to do this on his own by just not acting out, he's going to get stuck, or he is stuck. You're also, I know what you're looking for is the safety, and that he's making things right for you, but you're asking somebody who has no tools to be able to do that. The acting out is the symptom, but it's how I disconnect and avoid vulnerability, avoid true intimacy. And you're looking for intimacy, affection, and all of those things. And I'm confident he's terrified of that and doesn't even know how to engage in that. So if he hasn't already done so, the Sex Addiction 101 or Porn Addiction 101 would be a good foundational component. If he's done those, great. If he's got, a 12-step, he's, working through the steps, he's got a sponsor, hopefully by July, hopefully he's at least through, steps 4 and 5 and 12-step. But then the out of the doghouse that I mentioned, is how to rebuild trust. Of course, doing the attachment work so that I can understand, why I want to cycle down in shame. That one starts again in April too. All of those are on the Seeking Integrity site. So take a look at those. You can always email me, Tammy, Tami, at seekingintegrity.com, if you've got some specific questions about it. But there's some pretty good bullet points about what the groups offer. And guess what? If he does one, he can do another one the next time. It really is. We have these resources. I think having a solid foundation, with the porn addiction or the sex addiction 101 is a great place to start. And then, for the guys that are going, I've got sobriety, I'm, doing okay with that, but I really need to do the deeper work, the attachment wounds, the out of the doghouse for relationships, and the inner child, are good next steps. And we've got the couples, starting again in May. So hopefully that's helpful. As a betrayed partner, I'm struggling with feeling he is having his cake and eating it too. He is doing the work, but I'm internally struggling with the truth that he has done all of this, the acting out, and he still gets to keep his marriage. It looks like he can cheat and I'll stay around. How do I overcome all the shame of staying? We have 2 small kids, so him doing the work, leaving is not my best option. The shame is overwhelming.
All right. So there's a lot of shame. And some of this is some belief systems that are going on with you that are creating that frustration. So you have betrayal, which is deep. So recently I kind of came up with this analogy of the 3 doors. And the first door is the door that I am wanting to stay in this marriage because I think that it's valuable and I love my partner and I'm going to do what I can to be able to work things through, and we make mistakes and we're not perfect and we'll work it out. That's door number one. Door number two is I have to stay in this marriage. I'm trapped in this marriage. There's no way for me to be able to get out of this marriage. I've got myself in a really horrible predicament, and there's just like nothing that I can do. It's just, this is torture here. And door number three is I can leave this marriage. I can leave it. So that's divorce. A lot of times, and I think some of this comes from like religious beliefs, and I'm not trying to talk people out of the religious beliefs, and I'm actually not trying to talk anybody into going through door number three either. But a lot of times people look at door number three and say, I cannot do that. Like I cannot do door number three for whatever reason. And so what that means then is that if you cannot see yourself walking through door number three, then door number one and door number three disappear. And the only door that you have left to go through is the door of I am stuck and I'm tortured and this is awful. And there's so much resentment that happens when I walk through door number two. Now, if I see, like, yes, I could walk down to the courthouse and I could file for divorce, and it would be hard with two kids, and that would be really, really horrible and difficult. And but I can see myself doing that, and I'm choosing not to. Then door number one is still available, if that makes sense. But when we like limit door number one and door number three, because we say those just don't seem like the option, then the only option we have left is this sense of resentment, which does not serve you. It's not about him at this point. Like, he's got to own his stuff. He's got to figure out how he can make amends. He's got to figure out what he can do to create safety for you. That's part of what he needs to do in his recovery. But when you say he gets his cake and eats it too, well, what are the benefits that you're getting out of staying in this relationship? And what are the things that you are, why are you choosing to stay? And if you focus on, well, he gets this and he gets that, that's that resentment part. And that's really not going to serve you. You're getting some stuff too. That's why you're choosing to stay. So that is it's a shadowy thought process, and it's not a judgment. I'm not judging. Those are some of the shadows of shame that are talking to you, and they're doing that because they're trying to prevent you from feeling the pain of betrayal, and they're trying to prevent you from the fear of what in the heck am I going to do if I leave. So those shadowy thoughts are really trying to protect you, but they don't serve you and they don't help you step in your light. So if you can step in your light, and if you really don't want to be married to the guy, you'll figure out a way to make that work. And you'll do it without resentment. If you really want to stay married to the guy, you'll figure out how to make that work until he decides he's not going to do his work. So part of that is taking a look at where's my light? Where's my truth? How am I an amazing, beautiful, wonderful, awesome person? And I hope he gets his crap together. Does that make sense?
It does. Somebody asked, could you repeat what door number one was?
Yeah, door number one is I'm choosing to stay in this marriage. I want to be in this marriage. I'm willing to lean into the challenges and the discomfort that exists in every freaking relationship that ever exists on the planet, because this marriage is worthwhile to me. This relationship is worthwhile to me. And so even though there might be hard moments, I'm choosing to do it because I want to be here.
Thank you. So I want to tag on to, first of all, you have two small kids. That's exhausting. So, what are you doing for self-care for you, regardless of, set this addiction and stuff aside. So glad you're here, but what are you doing for self-care and grounding for you? And then I'm going to remind you that, and you said cheating, so you didn't use addiction, but sex addiction, porn addiction, it's not about sex. It's got nothing to do with sex. It's, I mentioned before, it's a symptom, and it's about not being vulnerable. There's brokenness. So if you can look at this person as struggling with brokenness, he's working on doing some fixing, but it's going to take time. But the shame for you, it kind of goes back to what the person earlier was like, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. You are creating a life with somebody who's got some brokenness. But if you choose to stay, door number one, if you choose to stay, then how can you move forward, and take care of you, as and have that person be working on, but the our guys get asked, the guys that come to the Seeking Integrity treatment program, was an affair partner, wasn't your affair partner, prettier than your wife? No. Was she smarter than your wife? No. Was she funnier than your wife? No. I mean, all of these things, it isn't about that. It's very compartmentalized. It's about numbing out, please listen to more of the podcasts and things to have a better understanding. It feels really personal, and it is on some level, but it also isn't. The acting out, it's like drinking. It isn't, oh, this alcohol tastes so good. It's about what's the end result for me, and how does that dopamine affect me and keep me from not having to deal with reality. So, and unfortunately, a lot of guys do act out with the birth of kids. It sucks. It's an extra layer of, of betrayal and trauma, but you're not alone. I'm so glad you're here. But the shame is not yours, and shame is useless anyway. So this, however we can support you, free drop-in groups, consider the betrayed partner work group, the 6-week course. Angela Spearman's hosting that, Codependent Aligned. I think you would find that to be a good fit too. So could EMDR or neurofeedback help with 1, shame resilience, 2, intimacy avoidance, 3, euphoric recall, 4, attention seeking opposite gender outside of marriage? So EMDR is a trauma therapy. This doesn't feel like, I mean, there may be some trauma underneath it, but this does not feel like trauma. That sounds, and maybe I'm making this up, but that sounds like, well, if I do EMDR, all of these things will go away. And that doesn't feel like the work that would need to be done. But am I missing the point, Troy?
Well, EMDR can help with all of those things.
Okay.
So EMDR, it is a trauma-based treatment, but what EMDR does is that we have an event that we then attribute a core belief to, and then through EMDR, we are able to rewire the core belief. So it definitely would help with shame resilience. What are the wounds around intimacy avoidant that caused me to pull away? What are the things that I use to do euphoric recall and attention seeking? So it is a way that can help with that. Neurofeedback is also, it's been around for 30 years, but not a whole lot of people know about it. It is a fascinating tool that you can use. That it literally does help you rewire your neurological patterns in your brain. And so, yes, it could help with all of that. It takes a while, just so you know. It's not like a quick fix. EMDR can do a lot for like a specific event, but if you have a lot of trauma, EMDR may take a long time. But neurofeedback takes a while because we're literally creating new neurological connections in our brain. And so that can take anywhere from 6 months to a year, depending on what's happening. So don't think that if you were going to try neurofeedback, like, oh, I'm going to go for a couple of sessions and I'm going to be fixed. No, that's not how it works. So they're amazing interventions that can help with healing. And there's others too that can help with healing, but they're not quick fixes. Like everybody, I don't think you are personally, but a lot of people are like, well, what's the quick fix? What can I do? There aren't any, man. I've been looking. believe me, I've been looking for those places for a long time, and I haven't found any. But yes, they can help with all of those things with the right modality.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate that because, like, I'm going attention seeking EMDR. I don't make the connection. Like, it isn't obvious to me how that it would. But yeah, I mean, I find EMDR to be super helpful. I remember my dad decades ago doing neurofeedback for he got migraine headaches, and I don't like I had completely forgotten that, but he was, and it was months of of him doing something to whatever. But I think it helped. I don't know. Okay, next question. I am an addict. I've been sober for 62 days. Yay. I'm in SA on step 2. Great. I've been working really hard, but my partner and I go up and down in cycles. Of course. The past 3 to 4 days have been amazing between my wife and I. We have connected so well and started a real recovery of our relationship, I feel. However, this morning I failed her. My core emotional trigger that I'm a failure was touched on. We Troy can talk about that. I feel like I'm defective. That's all I've ever done with romantic relationships is hurt women and disappoint them. Shame. I'm uncovering where this is all came from in my past, but in the meantime, when this trigger is touched on, I'm struggling to not self-harm. This morning, I self-harmed in front of my wife and kids, hitting myself with a coffee canister. The last 3 to 4 days of positive connection with my wife is now gone. She ordered me to leave in front of the kids and told me to stay away for all of today. She's considering what consequence I will have to accept my actions. Please help me avoid self-harming. Wow.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes. So lots of shame going on, right? So you had a beautiful couple of days, and then for whatever reason, your judge showed up and started telling you how much you suck. And whenever the judge or any of the other shadows of shame show up, they hijack our ability to connect with the people that we love. They like run interference. And so all of a sudden, instead of being able to be present with the persons that we love, your wife and your kids, all of a sudden we got these shadows that are running interference, and they make it all about you, which the wife is like, for reals? Like, this isn't about you. That just makes the shame even worse. But that's what shame does. It makes it all about you, and instead of making it about us, like everybody in the family. And then oftentimes, because that's so overwhelming, we immediately go to numbing. And so your way of numbing was self-harm, which doesn't make any sense, right? Like, we turn to sex, we turn to drugs, we turn to doing all kinds of stuff to numb the pain, but it makes everything worse, but we do it anyway. So you went to numbing because the pain was so overwhelming. So you want to know what to do to avoid the self-harming. Part of that is, number one, to practice self-compassion and to say to yourself, like, I can connect that for whatever reason, there was so much shame today that was so overwhelming for me. And I haven't learned the skills yet to be able to manage when shame shows up. I don't know how to deal with it when the judge starts talking to me, but I want to. I want to learn how to use the skills. And if you hung out with me on Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time, you'll watch guys every week sitting in the healing seat and figuring out how to do that. You can also check out the Finding Peace workbook, which gives you some stuff. They have the class that's coming up in April, the healing attachment wounds, that we touch on some of that stuff. There's some resources for you to be able to learn how to develop some shame resilience. Now, I don't usually tell people what to do, so you can take this with a grain of salt. When your spouse reaches out to you later, number one, I would apologize and say, like, look, I think that my shame hijacked me, and I ended up doing things that really freaked you out and freaked out the kids, and that's not okay. And here's what I'm going to be doing to take care of that, so that those kind of things do not happen in the future. I'm going to be looking for a therapist. I'm going to be attending a 12-step group. I'm going to be signing up for this class. Here's some things that I'm going to be doing. And your partner, your wife, will see that and say, okay, like I don't know exactly what your wife will do, but those are some things that you doing that and following through creates safety for her, so that she because right now she's like, this can't happen again. Like, you cannot do this in front of the kids. I have to be the one to protect them. So if you're showing up and showing her what you're going to do so that it doesn't, it helps her feel like, oh, I don't have to do this all by myself. And I will support you in doing all of that stuff, honey. But don't make me do it all by myself, because if I do, it's hard for them. And they will do that. The mama bear will come out and they will take care of the kids first. So just a couple of little thoughts for you, but Ro.
Yeah, I echo the get a qualified professional. Great that you're doing 12 step. That, that is not, that's higher level stuff, and getting a professional that can help you with that is really important. I can imagine how terrifying that was for your kiddos, and so please get the help that you need. Join, all of these offerings so that you can continue to make progress. And like we said to somebody earlier, slow the process down. You're 62 days, so it's not a race. This is the long haul marathon lifetime journey. So taking little steps so that it isn't like, oh, I've made progress, oh, I slid back. It's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That, just understand that. And but you're not alone on the path. There's lots of support and help. So okay, my partner is working hard to be honest and not act out, and the healing parts of him that made him do the acting out in the first place. I'm okay most of the time, but occasionally I will have a panic attack when I can't seem to handle certain triggers on my own. I will hit myself and throw things, and I see it hurting him, but I can't seem to control it when it happens. It tends to happen when I've held my sadness because I don't want to make him feel shame by sharing with him.
So some of the same stuff I just said before, right? So you're hitting yourself as your way of numbing your pain. And it comes from a sense of fear. Like, you hold stuff in until it becomes so overwhelming that it has to come out. Like, that's the thing. It's like we shake up a Coke bottle or whatever enough, it's going to explode. So part of that is where can you go to be able to learn how to be able to express your feelings and not feel like you have to manage his. How can you be open and honest about what's going on with you, and also having him manage his feelings? Like, you get to manage yours, he gets to manage his, so that you together can be able to have open dialogue. That's actually what builds connection, is when both of us are managing our emotions. Yeah, I get that there's some vulnerability in sharing stuff. Like, I'm afraid that what I shared with you might make you feel upset, but I'm going to say it anyway because I need to say it, and we can process it. We can talk about it, and we can work through it and get to the other side. But if I hold it in, that will be a challenge. So hopefully you as well can find a local qualified therapist who can help you maybe work through some of that, so you don't have to feel responsible for his feelings, and you can be free to be you and share your feelings.
I really would like you to get some professional help with that. But I also want to remind you that nothing you can say or not say will make an addict act out. So it's okay to say, I need to share this with you. I need to share my sadness with you. Like, that's on him to learn to have the emotional bandwidth to handle that. But you being in a pressure cooker so that you explode and hurt yourself, so sad to me, but also detrimental to you. So his recovery is his. Nothing you can do or not do is going to make him feel shame. He gets to feel shame or not feel shame. That's on him. Okay, if partner lies during the disclosure, should we do another disclosure?
You
Do you
should
think you're going to get the truth this time? I mean, it's like,
you I don't know if I would do the whole thing over again. That sounds really painful. But I would revisit the parts that he lied about or she lied about.
with qualified professionals. Like, I mean, do it within your therapeutic setting, please. Don't do this DIY.
But yeah, like I tell the guys, like, dude, you get one shot at this, don't mess it up. And they're like, well, how can I mess it up? Lie, don't lie. Like,
Exactly.
for real, don't
Exactly.
lie.
Yeah.
Because that won't
Lies of omission or lies of, it's like, oh, well, I just left it off. It's like, that's stupid, because it's going to get found out. It's going to get found out. And then you've got this where, like, if the point of disclosure is to start building a foundation of trust, guess what? Zero trust when you lie on a disclosure. Next question. My SA husband in recovery, 11 months sober, has an anxious avoidant attachment style. I suspect my attachment style is also anxious avoidant. We've been married 29 years. He acted out for 8 years prior to discovery. He's mother enmeshed and does not have a personality disorder. His forensic psychologist said he was worried staying together would be emotionally taxing on me due to his attachment style, lack of identity, and results showing inability to self-soothe. Can two anxious avoidants change?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. There are some people that believe your attachment style is locked in, and that just is the way that it is. I've noticed that our attachment styles change based on who we're interacting with. So I may have an avoidant attachment style with one person, an anxious attachment style with another person, and an anxious and avoidant attachment style with somebody else, and a secure attachment style with somebody else. So it kind of depends, but I wouldn't do this work if I didn't believe that people could change. Um, there's a lot of hard work that would need to be done, because y'all are going to have to take down the walls and also build some resiliency. So you take down the walls so you can be vulnerable without then like running to the clingy side and like needing reassurance so much. Like that pattern exists. So can it? Yes, I believe that it can, but you will probably need to have somebody who's trained in emotionally focused couples therapy with Sue Johnson's work, who could help you with that.
Yeah, and there are, no, that's internal family systems. Never mind, I was going to say internal family systems. All the alphabets in the therapeutic world, EFS, IFS, all of this. So it's like, woof, but I am really impressed. I got to tell you, all of you joining, that, that you're identifying, we have an anxious avoidant attachment style. Like, wow, like I wouldn't have known what all that stuff was a longer time ago. It's so great that you're like honing in on those things. So, okay, my husband isn't seeing a therapist and goes to a group once a week. Sometimes he listens to a podcast and watches YouTube, but they aren't addiction rated. They're more about being a better person, like Brene Brown or Gabor Mate. He says he wants to be healthy and he's trying, and he says he's not acting out, but I don't trust it. Good. I see changes in how he responds and he's more present, but I don't think he can get to the root without therapist sponsor group. Also, money is tight, so therapy isn't an option. So
Well, Gabor Mate does do a lot with addiction, by the way. He also focuses a lot on attachment stuff. Brene Brown talks a lot about shame. She's like the shame guru. So those two are people that I follow as well. I understand finances can be tight depending on where you're at. There are some places that do offer sliding scale fee for services, or you might be able to find out if there's like grants, because there are some places that offer grants for therapy as well. But you're right, he's not going to get support without a therapist and a sponsor in a group. That's part of why Seeking Integrity and Sex and Relationship Healing and Rob created what they've created, because there's such a need for individuals to get resources, and it's hard to come by, and a lot of times it's very expensive. And so that's why we offer what we offer, most of it free or low cost, because of the mission to provide help for people who maybe aren't living where they can get a qualified therapist, or they just don't have the means. So you're in the right place, and there's a lot of resources to tap into right here.
So two things. First of all, I'm glad you're here, and there's lots of betrayed partner resources free. The bigger thing to me isn't about what he's watching or not watching. He's doing this alone, and he's doing it sometimes. So if I say this often, if someone is not pursuing their recovery with the same energy that they pursued their addiction, they're not going to be very successful. And we, our best thinking got us to the place where we're at. So we have, I don't even know how many, I should count again, free drop-in groups for men who have struggled with sex addiction, etc. They show up, they're free. The webinars, you're on this one. Engaging live, not just watching a video, would be good. The drop-ins would be better. 12-step is all free, and the list on sex and relationship healing under resources, it lists all the different 12-step. Try all of them. SA, SAA, SLAA, PA. I mean, the list goes on and on. They're all listed. You can click and see, what the different ones are. But if he's just sitting and watching a video from Brene Brown, who is fabulous, Gabor Mate, who is fabulous, but that's not how we change. We have to change with other people. So I'm glad you're here. Hopefully you're going today to the Betrayed Partner drop-in group at 12:30 Pacific time, and there's another one tomorrow morning. I mean, there's lots of stuff for you. So you getting support. But when you said he says he's in recovery and I don't trust it, listen to your gut. I mean, it's actions. It really is actions. And I don't see a lot of action from him, even for the free stuff. So, and then the last question, and this is complete, I don't even know I hope you know the answer. I rented a neurofeedback machine for a month and did 35 sessions. I didn't see a lot of positive change, though it was a traumatic month and lots of things were getting worse as well. I was under the impression neurofeedback was based on the number of sessions as opposed to needing to space them out. Did the monthly rental to make it more financially feasible. Were you saying the sessions need to be spaced out over 6 months or so? I mean, I have no clue.
So we use neurofeedback specifically in our office to treat ADHD. There are other neurofeedback machines that do other things like treating depression, anxiety, trauma, all kinds of different things as well. It's not that it needs to be spaced out. And I don't know anything about the machine that you rented. I can only talk about what we do. The person comes in and they will do 2 sessions a week for 30 minutes. And they will do that for a year. So they're coming in every week for twice a week for 30 minutes for a long time. So it's not that they're spaced out, it's that you're doing it on a very frequent basis, at least twice a week. You could do more, but that's what time consuming. And it's 30 minutes. So because like I said, it takes time to rewire those brain neurons. So I don't know what kind you were using or why it wasn't beneficial. Some things just don't work.
So there's different machines though, is what I'm hearing you say. Like you need a different machine for this versus a different machine for that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I'm gonna have to do more research on that one. So Troy, thank you so much for being here again. And again, resources, you'll find Troy multiple times a month, week on this and on sexandrelationshiphealing.com. And he'll be back the 4th week of April. And then the work group for the work group for betrayed partners starts April 6th. Join that if you're a betrayed partner. But Troy's got his attachment wound group starting again in April. So on seekingintegrity.com. So thank you all. Thanks for the great questions. Bye, everyone.